Markle family feud just took a devastating turn that nobody saw coming.
I don't think she's capable of empathy, remorse, or shame. I don't think she could feel enough to apologize.
Samantha Markle, Meghan's estranged half-sister, is plotting a shocking legal maneuver that could completely shatter the Duchess of Sussex's carefully crafted public image.
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad.
After months of courtroom defeats and dismissed claims, sources close to Samantha's legal team reveal she's preparing a bombshell appeal strategy that could breathe new life into her defamation lawsuit against Meghan. This isn't just another family squabble playing out in the tabloids. We're talking about a high-stakes legal battle that could force Meghan back into the spotlight for all the wrong reasons.
Silence everybody and just produce a DNA sample.
The original defamation case seemed dead in the water when judges threw out Samantha's claims, but insiders whisper that her attorneys have discovered a legal loophole that could change everything. The drama centers around explosive statements Meghan made during her tell-all Oprah interview and the Netflix documentary series that sent shockwaves through the royal family. But what seemed like protected opinion back then might not hold up under the intense scrutiny of an appeals court.
When she said, "I lost my father," we knew that she didn't lose our dad, she iced our father.
Samantha's team believes they've found the smoking gun that proves Meghan's words weren't just personal reflections. They were calculated attacks designed to destroy her half-sister's reputation. Palace insiders suggest this renewed legal threat has Meghan's camp in full panic mode. The timing couldn't be worse, with the Sussex brand already facing mounting criticism over their Hollywood ventures and public appearances. Now they're staring down the possibility of another brutal court battle that could expose even more family secrets. But here's where it gets really explosive. Sources reveal that Samantha isn't just seeking money damages anymore. She's preparing to introduce evidence of death threats, online harassment, and personal attacks she claims stem directly from Meghan's public statements.
And I thought, is she not contextually aware if she's trying to hide something? This is really sloppy pool.
If the court accepts this evidence, it could transform the entire case from a simple defamation claim into something much more serious and damaging for the former actress. The legal earthquake that's about to hit Meghan isn't just about old grievances, it's about a sophisticated new strategy that could expose the Duchess in ways she never imagined. Behind the scenes, Samantha's legal team has been quietly building what sources describe as an airtight case that goes far beyond the original defamation claims. Court insiders reveal that Samantha's attorneys have discovered something explosive in the legal discovery process. They're not just focusing on what Meghan said anymore, they're zeroing in on what she knew when she said it. This shift in strategy could be absolutely devastating, because it suggests Meghan made her public statements while being fully aware they would cause serious harm to her half-sister. The genius of this approach is that it transforms Meghan from an innocent family member sharing her truth into someone who allegedly weaponized her platform to destroy a relative.
And I don't think they're improving each other's lives. I think it's a toxic relationship because they're codependent.
Legal experts whisper that this kind of intentional harm is much harder to defend against than simple opinion-based statements. If Samantha can prove Meghan acted with malice, the entire legal landscape changes dramatically. But here's where it gets really dangerous for the Duchess. Sources suggest Samantha's team has uncovered communications that show Meghan's inner circle was well aware of the potential backlash against Samantha before those explosive interviews aired. Text messages, emails, and recorded conversations allegedly reveal a coordinated effort to control the narrative at Samantha's expense. The smoking gun might be evidence that Meghan's publicity team actually anticipated and planned for the fallout against her family members. If true, this would prove that the damage to Samantha wasn't an unfortunate side effect of Meghan telling her story. It was a calculated consequence that the Sussex camp was willing to accept. Industry insiders are calling this legal pivot brilliant because it sidesteps all the previous court rulings that protected Meghan's right to share her personal experiences. Instead, it focuses on whether she deliberately used her massive platform to harm someone she knew couldn't fight back with equal media power. The Netflix documentary series turned what was already a legal nightmare into an absolute catastrophe for Meghan's defense strategy. While the Oprah interview planted the seeds of Samantha's defamation case, the 6-part Netflix series watered and fertilized those claims into something much more dangerous and legally actionable.
I'll tell you why. What she told the royal family, what she told Harry, wouldn't have jived, wouldn't have been consistent with the truth.
Sources close to the appeals process reveal that Samantha's legal team is treating the Netflix series as a second round of defamation that strengthened their original case exponentially. Unlike the Oprah interview, which could be dismissed as a one-time emotional outpouring, the documentary represented a calculated, produced, and edited attack on the Markle family that reached millions more viewers worldwide. Legal experts whisper that the Netflix series created what they're calling a pattern of defamation that's much harder for Meghan to defend against. The documentary didn't just repeat the claims from the Oprah interview, it expanded on them with visual elements, dramatic music, and carefully crafted storytelling that made Samantha look even worse to global audiences. But here's the truly explosive part that could destroy Meghan's legal position. Court documents suggest that the Netflix series included new statements and implications about Samantha that went beyond anything mentioned in the original interview. These fresh attacks allegedly crossed new legal lines and gave Samantha's attorneys additional ammunition for their appeal. The documentary's production timeline is also creating serious problems for Meghan's defense team. Unlike the Oprah interview, which was recorded relatively quickly, the Netflix series took months to film and edit. This extended timeline suggests that Meghan had plenty of opportunity to reconsider her statements about family members and chose to double down instead.
A royal physician was not allowed to examine her womb. I mean, I don't know about anybody else, but if I were pregnant with a royal child, you would want that child in the best care of the best medical practitioners that money could buy.
Industry insiders reveal that Netflix's global reach makes the defamation claims exponentially more serious. While the Oprah interview primarily aired in English-speaking countries, the Netflix series was translated into dozens of languages and distributed to over 200 million subscribers worldwide. The scope of potential reputation damage is staggering, and Samantha's legal team is using these numbers to argue for massive financial compensation. The courtroom defeats that seemed to end Samantha's legal crusade might have been premature victories for Meghan's team. Behind closed doors, legal insiders reveal that those initial dismissals contained crucial language that's now giving Samantha's attorneys the opening they desperately needed to resurrect this case from the dead. When judges first threw out Samantha's defamation claims, Meghan's camp celebrated what they thought was a total victory.
So all of the pictures, my point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy.
But sources close to the appeals process suggest those celebrations were dangerously premature. The court dismissals weren't based on the merits of Samantha's claims, they were largely procedural decisions that left the door wide open for a more sophisticated legal challenge. Legal experts whisper that Samantha's original attorneys made critical mistakes in how they presented the case initially. They focused too heavily on emotional arguments and not enough on the technical legal standards required for defamation claims. But her new legal team has apparently learned from those early missteps and is preparing a much more methodical and devastating approach. The game changer appears to be how the appeals court is interpreting the original dismissals. Sources suggest that judges at the 11th Circuit level have expressed skepticism about completely shutting down the case without allowing Samantha to present stronger evidence and more refined legal arguments.
He has personality profile that perfectly enables someone who is an alleged narcissist.
This judicial hesitation is exactly what her legal team needed to keep fighting. Court insiders reveal that the dismissals actually highlighted specific areas where Samantha's case was weak, essentially giving her attorneys a roadmap for how to fix those problems on appeal. It's like getting a preview of the test questions before taking the final exam. Her new legal strategy appears to address every single concern the original judges raised. But here's the truly shocking development that has Meghan's team scrambling. The appeals process has uncovered new evidence that wasn't available during the original proceedings. Phone records, social media data, and witness statements that have emerged since the initial dismissals are allegedly painting a much more compelling picture of the damage Meghan's statements caused to her half-sister's life and livelihood. The 11th Circuit Court of Appeals has become the battleground where Samantha's legal team is executing what insiders are calling the most brilliant courtroom strategy in recent celebrity litigation history.
If you had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
Sources reveal that her attorneys have discovered a series of procedural loopholes and legal technicalities that could force the entire case to be reconsidered from scratch, potentially exposing Meghan to devastating new scrutiny. The genius of Samantha's appeal strategy lies in how her legal team is reframing the entire dispute. Instead of simply arguing that the lower court got it wrong, they're presenting completely new legal theories that weren't considered in the original proceedings. Legal experts whisper that this approach is forcing appellate judges to examine the case through fresh eyes, essentially starting over with a much stronger foundation. Court documents suggest that Samantha's attorneys have identified specific errors in how the original judges interpreted defamation law as it applies to public figures and their family members. The appeals brief apparently argues that Meghan's royal status created a unique power dynamic that wasn't properly considered when dismissing the original claims. This argument could revolutionize how courts handle defamation cases involving celebrity family disputes.
When you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt, and there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white checkered dress.
But the most explosive element of the appeals strategy involves challenging the court's previous determination that Meghan's statements were protected opinion rather than actionable fact. Sources close to the case reveal that Samantha's legal team has compiled extensive evidence showing that many of Meghan's claims about their relationship can be proven either true or false through documented evidence. If successful, this argument would strip away Meghan's primary legal protection. Industry insiders are buzzing about how Samantha's attorneys are using Meghan's own words against her in ways that weren't possible during the original proceedings. The appeals brief reportedly includes detailed analysis of every public statement Meghan made about Samantha, cross-referenced with documented evidence of their actual relationship history. This forensic approach to the case could be absolutely devastating if the appeals court accepts it. The procedural brilliance doesn't stop there. Legal sources suggest that Samantha's team is arguing that the original dismissal was premature because it didn't allow for proper discovery of evidence from Meghan's side. They're requesting that the appeals court order a full investigation into Meghan's communications with her publicity team, Netflix producers, and Oprah's production company before and after the controversial statements were made. Perhaps most dangerously for Meghan, the appeals strategy appears to be working. Court watchers report that appellate judges have been asking pointed questions during hearings that suggest they're taking Samantha's new arguments seriously. The judicial skepticism that initially seemed to favor Meghan is apparently shifting as judges grapple with the more sophisticated legal theories being presented on appeal. The timing of this appeals process couldn't be worse for Meghan's public image. Just as she and Harry are trying to rebuild their brand and move forward from previous controversies, this renewed legal threat forces them back into defensive mode. Sources suggest that Meghan's legal bills are mounting exponentially as her attorneys scramble to respond to Samantha's increasingly complex appeals strategy. The evidence that Samantha's legal team is preparing to present about death threats and harassment is so disturbing that even hardened court officials are reportedly shocked by its scope and intensity. Sources close to the case reveal that Samantha has been meticulously documenting every threatening message, hateful comment, and dangerous interaction she's experienced since Meghan's public statements aired, creating a paper trail that could devastate the Duchess's legal position. Legal insiders whisper that Samantha's harassment documentation goes far beyond simple mean comments on social media. We're talking about credible death threats that forced her to involve law enforcement, doxing incidents that exposed her personal information to dangerous strangers, and coordinated online attacks that destroyed her ability to maintain normal social media presence or professional relationships. The sheer volume of evidence allegedly fills multiple bankers' boxes and digital drives. But here's where this gets truly explosive for Meghan's defense strategy. Samantha's attorneys have apparently traced many of these harassment campaigns back to specific moments when Meghan made public statements about her half-sister. The timeline they've constructed allegedly shows direct correlation between Meghan's media appearances and spikes in threatening behavior toward Samantha. This cause-and-effect pattern could be legally devastating if proven in court. Court documents suggest that Samantha's legal team has identified what they're calling influencer harassment, where Meghan's massive social media following and public platform amplified negative messages about Samantha to dangerous levels. Unlike random internet trolling, this allegedly represents a pattern where a celebrity's statements directly triggered coordinated attacks against a private individual who had no equal platform to defend herself. The evidence portfolio reportedly includes screenshots of thousands of threatening messages, police reports filed in multiple jurisdictions, and expert testimony about the psychological impact of sustained online harassment campaigns. Legal experts suggest that this kind of comprehensive documentation could transform the case from a simple defamation claim into something much more serious involving intentional infliction of emotional distress and potentially even criminal behavior by third parties. Industry sources reveal that some of the harassment evidence is so graphic and threatening that Samantha's attorneys are requesting sealed court proceedings to protect both parties from having these details become public. The fact that they're willing to keep this explosive evidence partially confidential suggests they believe it's strong enough to win the case without needing the publicity advantage of public disclosure. Perhaps most damaging for Meghan is evidence suggesting that her publicity team was aware of the harassment campaign against Samantha, but took no steps to discourage it or publicly ask for restraint from her supporters. Legal experts whisper that this alleged awareness combined with inaction could support claims that Meghan was complicit in the harm caused to her half-sister. The psychological evaluation evidence is reportedly particularly compelling. Samantha has apparently undergone extensive professional assessment documenting the mental health impact of the sustained harassment campaign. Medical records, therapy session notes, and expert psychiatric testimony allegedly show measurable harm that can be directly linked to the aftermath of Meghan's public statements. Sources close to the appeals process suggest that this harassment evidence addresses one of the major weaknesses in Samantha's original case: the ability to prove concrete damages rather than just hurt feelings or wounded pride. Meghan's legal fortress is crumbling as appellate court experts dissect her primary defense strategy with surgical precision. The opinion-based protection that seemed bulletproof during the original proceedings is now being exposed as potentially worthless under the intense scrutiny of sophisticated legal analysis. Sources close to the appeals process reveal that what Meghan's team thought was their strongest argument might actually become their greatest weakness. Legal insiders whisper that the fundamental problem with Meghan's defense lies in how courts define the difference between protected opinion and actionable factual claims. During the original case, her attorneys successfully argued that statements about family relationships constitute personal opinion that cannot be proven true or false. But Samantha's appeals team has apparently shredded this argument by presenting documented evidence that many of Meghan's claims were factually inaccurate and provably false. The devastating blow to Meghan's defense comes from her own words being turned against her with mathematical precision. Court documents suggest that Samantha's legal team has created detailed timelines showing that Meghan made specific factual claims about their relationship history, frequency of contact, and family interactions that can be disproven through phone records, text messages, and witness testimony. Once a statement moves from opinion into the realm of disprovable fact, opinion protection evaporates completely. But here's where Meghan's legal strategy gets truly dangerous for her future. Appeals court judges are reportedly questioning whether someone with Meghan's media training and public relations expertise could genuinely believe she was just sharing innocent personal opinions rather than making calculated public statements designed to shape public perception. This judicial skepticism suggests that courts might view her media appearances as strategic communications rather than spontaneous emotional sharing. Legal experts are buzzing about how the appeals process has exposed what they're calling the celebrity opinion loophole problem. Meghan's defense essentially argued that famous people can say anything about their family members as long as they frame it as personal experience. But if this precedent were accepted broadly, it would give celebrities unlimited power to destroy private individuals simply by claiming their attacks were just personal opinions about family relationships. The procedural nightmare for Meghan's team is that appellate courts have much more freedom to reinterpret legal standards than trial courts do. Sources suggest that the 11th Circuit judges are considering whether traditional defamation protections need to be updated for the social media age, where celebrity statements can instantly reach millions of followers and trigger coordinated harassment campaigns against private individuals. Industry insiders reveal that Meghan's legal bills are exploding as her attorneys scramble to develop entirely new defense strategies. The opinion-based protection they relied on initially is proving inadequate against Samantha's more sophisticated legal theories. Now they're reportedly exploring constitutional free speech arguments, but legal experts suggest these protections are much weaker when dealing with factual claims rather than pure opinion. Perhaps most dangerously for the Duchess, legal sources whisper that her own Netflix documentary and Oprah interview performances are being analyzed by court-appointed experts who specialize in detecting calculated versus spontaneous communication. If these experts conclude that Meghan's statements were strategically crafted rather than emotionally authentic, it could destroy any remaining credibility for her opinion-based defense strategy. The timing couldn't be worse for this legal vulnerability to be exposed, just as Meghan and Harry are trying to establish themselves as credible public figures worthy of major business partnerships and media deals. The royal family is reportedly in full crisis mode as Samantha's renewed legal assault threatens to drag the monarchy back into the same scandalous spotlight that nearly destroyed their reputation during the initial Sussex exodus. Palace insiders whisper that this court battle represents a nightmare scenario where private family drama could explode into public testimony that exposes even more damaging secrets about royal relationships and internal dynamics. Sources close to Buckingham Palace reveal that senior royals are privately furious about the possibility of being dragged back into another media circus, just as they were finally moving past the damage caused by Harry and Meghan's original allegations. The timing couldn't be worse, with King Charles trying to establish his reign's credibility, and Prince William working to modernize the monarchy's public image. This legal resurrection threatens to undo years of careful reputation management, but the truly explosive danger for the royal family lies in what legal experts call discovery spillover. If Samantha's appeals succeed and force a full trial, the legal discovery process could potentially subpoena communications between Meghan and various royal family members. Text messages, emails, and recorded conversations that were never meant for public consumption could suddenly become court evidence accessible to media outlets worldwide. Court insiders suggest that Samantha's legal team is already hinting at their intention to explore whether royal family members encouraged or supported Meghan's public statements about her biological family. If proven, this could transform the entire narrative from a personal family feud into evidence that the monarchy was complicit in attacking private citizens who couldn't defend themselves with equal media power. The constitutional implications are staggering and have reportedly sent shockwaves through the highest levels of British government. Legal experts whisper that a successful defamation case against Meghan could establish precedent for how royal family members can be held accountable for their public statements, potentially opening the door for other private individuals to sue royals who make damaging public comments about them. Industry sources sources reveal that the royal family's legal advisors are exploring whether they have any obligation to support Meghan's defense or distance themselves from her legal troubles. The calculation is apparently complex because supporting her could make them appear complicit in any wrongdoing, but abandoning her could trigger even more damaging revelations from the Sussex camp about their treatment during the royal exit. Perhaps most dangerous for the monarchy's long-term stability is how this renewed legal drama reinforces the narrative that the royal family cannot move past their internal dysfunction. International media outlets are already drawing connections between this court battle and the broader pattern of royal family members airing private grievances in public forums, suggesting that the institution itself may be fundamentally broken. The financial implications for the royal family are also reportedly causing serious concern. While Meghan would be personally responsible for any legal judgments against her, the broader reputational damage to the monarchy could affect everything from tourism revenue to international diplomatic relationships. Sources suggest that government officials are quietly monitoring the case because of its potential impact on Britain's soft power and cultural influence globally. Palace insiders whisper that some senior royals are privately questioning whether Harry and Meghan's decision to retain their royal titles was a mistake, given how their ongoing controversies continue to damage the institution they claim to have left behind. The procedural masterstroke that Samantha's legal team is executing represents what courtroom veterans are calling one of the most sophisticated appeal strategies in recent celebrity litigation history. Behind-the-scenes sources reveal that her attorneys have discovered a series of interconnected legal maneuvers that could force the entire case to be rebuilt from the ground up, potentially exposing Meghan to discovery processes she desperately wants to avoid. Legal insiders whisper that the genius of Samantha's strategy lies in how her team is exploiting something called jurisdictional venue shopping, combined with federal versus state court complications. The original case was dismissed in federal court, but her appeals attorneys have apparently identified ways to potentially refile aspects of the claims in state courts where different legal standards apply and where Meghan's celebrity status might provide less protection. But the truly explosive element of this procedural gambit involves what legal experts are calling third-party discovery subpoenas. Sources close to the case reveal that Samantha's team is preparing to demand communications records not just from Meghan, but from Netflix executives, Oprah's production company, and even Meghan's publicity representatives. This approach could expose the entire machinery behind Meghan's public statements and reveal whether there was coordinated planning to damage Samantha's reputation. Court documents suggest that Samantha's attorneys have identified specific procedural errors in how the original dismissal was handled, particularly regarding something called motion to dismiss versus motion for summary judgment standards. Legal experts explain that this technical distinction could be crucial because it determines how much evidence courts must consider before throwing out a case. If Samantha's team can prove the wrong standard was applied, they might force a complete do-over with much more favorable rules. The procedural brilliance extends to how Samantha's legal team is structuring their appeals to create what insiders call parallel pressure points. Instead of putting all their hopes into one big appeal, they've apparently filed multiple related motions in different jurisdictions that could each independently force Meghan back into court. Even if some of these procedural challenges fail, the cumulative legal pressure could become overwhelming for Meghan's defense team. Industry sources reveal that Samantha's attorneys are also exploiting recent changes in federal appeals court procedures that make it easier to introduce new evidence during the appeals process. This procedural shift apparently allows them to present harassment documentation and communications records that weren't available during the original proceedings, essentially giving them a second chance to make their case with much stronger evidence. Perhaps most dangerously for Meghan, legal experts suggest that Samantha's procedural strategy is designed to maximize media coverage and public pressure, regardless of the ultimate legal outcome. Each court filing, each motion, and each hearing generates fresh news cycles that keep the controversy alive in public consciousness. This sustained media attention reportedly serves Samantha's interests even if she doesn't win every legal battle. The complexity of this procedural assault is apparently creating serious strain on Meghan's legal budget and emotional resources. Sources close to her defense team suggest they're struggling to respond effectively to multiple simultaneous legal challenges while also trying to protect her public image and business interests. The procedural warfare is essentially forcing Meghan to fight a multi-front legal battle that could drag on for years and cost millions in legal fees. The catastrophic consequences awaiting Meghan if Samantha's legal gambit succeeds could permanently destroy everything the Duchess has worked to build since leaving royal life. Legal experts are whispering that a successful defamation judgment wouldn't just mean financial damages, it would represent a complete vindication of everyone who questioned Meghan's credibility and truthfulness during the royal exit controversy. Sources close to major entertainment industry executives reveal that Hollywood is already quietly distancing itself from potential Meghan partnerships, while this legal threat looms. The Netflix deal, Spotify arrangements, and other lucrative media contracts reportedly contain moral clauses that could be triggered if Meghan is found legally liable for defaming family family members. A court judgment against her could void millions of dollars in existing agreements and make future deals nearly impossible to negotiate. But the reputational destruction extends far beyond lost business opportunities. Legal insiders suggest that a successful defamation case would essentially prove that Meghan deliberately lied about her family relationships during globally televised interviews. This revelation would retroactively cast doubt on every other claim she made about her royal experience, her treatment by the British media, and her reasons for leaving the United Kingdom. The psychological impact on Meghan's public persona could be absolutely devastating. Sources suggest that her entire brand identity is built around being an authentic truth-teller who courageously spoke out against powerful institutions. If courts determine that she actually used her platform to spread false information about vulnerable family members, it would shatter the foundation of her public credibility and moral authority. Industry experts whisper that the cascading effects of a legal loss could trigger what they're calling a celebrity death spiral, where negative media coverage feeds on itself and becomes impossible to control. Other family members who have remained silent might feel emboldened to come forward with their own contradictory versions of events, creating an avalanche of damaging revelations that could bury Meghan's reputation permanently. The financial implications are staggering beyond just the direct damages Samantha might win. Legal sources suggest that a defamation judgment could open the door for other family members to file similar lawsuits, potentially creating years of expensive litigation and mounting legal bills that could bankrupt even wealthy celebrities. The precedent would essentially make Meghan legally vulnerable to anyone who could prove her public statements damaged their reputation. Perhaps most devastatingly, a successful case against Meghan could provide ammunition for critics who have always claimed that she manipulated Harry and exploited her royal connections for personal gain. If courts determine that she deliberately spread false information about her own family, it would validate suspicions about her motivations and truthfulness regarding royal family dynamics. The international embarrassment factor cannot be understated. Sources suggest that a legal judgment against Meghan would generate headlines worldwide and potentially affect diplomatic relationships between the United States and United Kingdom. The woman who once represented American integration into the British royal family could become a symbol of American litigation culture attacking British institutions. The ultimate irony is that Meghan's attempts to control her public narrative through carefully managed media appearances might become the very evidence that destroys her credibility forever. The detailed record of her statements that she created to tell her story could become the legal foundation for proving she deliberately spread damaging falsehoods about family members who trusted her. Drop your thoughts below about whether Samantha's shocking legal strategy will finally expose the truth about Meghan's family relationships. Like, subscribe, and stay tuned because the next video is waiting, and you won't believe what's coming next.